Okay, so I'm hoping this video doesn't have to be cut into two, but I'm just hotspotting the internet right now off my phone, so it's been a little wonky today. So let's have a look at the next assignment. So you're going to be going into the content area for Unit 1, it's the last assignment. It's called What's My Brand Identity? So it says here in the first unit, you learned about various techniques marketers use, as well as how audiences respond differently to text based on a variety of factors. So in this activity, you're going to complete a summative task where you compare your external media messages and your personal values to see if they match up. So let's open this up and have a look at sort of how the content's laid out. So to start, you're going to watch, and I would really recommend that you watch this because it's going to give you so many different ideas for the assignment that you do below. So take the time. It is 19 minutes, but you're really going to want to spend the time on that, and it'll make for a better product in the end. This was a discussion. It's not anymore. I took that out. But essentially, you're going to watch the video. And then after watching the video, you're going to start to think about, well, what's your brand as an individual? So you're going to think about the media that you produce and share and how that sort of projects you into the world. And we're going to talk a little bit lower about like personal values and things like that maybe you project as part of the media that you produce. So before you get to the assignment, flip back to this spot. It's about 10:40 in the video, probably till about, it's just after 14:40, sort of that ending part of the video. And it's going to give you some sort of really cool prompts to think about while you're doing this. So the brand archetype. So when you look down here, what does it say? An archetype is what? A perfect example or a model for something. So if you think about this list of the perfect model for a brand, how do companies sort of see themselves? So if you look under innocent, you can make it a little bit bigger if you want, but with positive and kind speech, they see the good in everything. So that would be part of the motto of, say, Coca-Cola or Dove or We. I think that might say Nintendo. If you were looking for something that's, sort of like a gesture, we just looked at the Old Spice brand and the Old Spice guy and how that sort of projects the company. So they might want to have sort of more of a playful mission. And the idea is for you to actually enjoy what you're watching. M&M's would do something similar, Budweiser as well. You might also think about brands that, show themselves as like lovers or heroes or the outlaw, like Harley Davidson. So this is going to give you an idea of ads. And then think about sort of what you've seen in terms of these advertisements. You could even Google or go to YouTube and have a look at, try to play some of their advertisements if you want to get into it a little bit more. So then that's examples of how those companies are choosing to represent their brand. But what you're going to be looking at is thinking about, how do you represent your brand? So there's two parts to this assignment. You have to create a visual for me, and you could use, let's just exit out here. You can use some of the media production softwares that I shared here. I see that some of you have been using them in the last assignments and they're coming out really nice. Or you could choose to use something like Google Slides or Google Drawing or something that you're more comfortable with. So it's up to you in terms of how you want to present your visual to me. But that's what you're going to do. And then what goes on your visual? So there's a link here to a Google Doc. And then there's an example here of a gingerbread person. I'll go through that in a second. And then there's also just a list of different values. So when you're thinking about your brand and how you project yourself, you might want to think about what values are important to you and how do you put that out into the world. So let's go over to here. I'll link this video in here after. But what have you got? So part 1, create your visual for submission. So you're going to visually represent your brand by critically analyzing the media message that you choose to share with others. And then you're going to make a visual. You can use this gingerbread person as a visual point of reference. So the idea behind this is that somebody made this gingerbread person. They've made it a nice visual, visual infographic, I suppose, and then put some information around with the purpose of sort of explaining what gender is or gender fluidity, that sort of thing. So it's an informational piece that they've done. But they've been able to put a bunch of different information on here in a nice visual way. So what you're going to be doing is thinking about how you yourself project your brand out into the world. So here's the examples of the tools. Don't be afraid to go to that media production area if you want to use something like Lucid Press or Canva or Pictochart. Those are all there. So then what you need to do is choose 6 to 8 examples of media messages you communicate through your choices, your behavior, and your interactions. So these can include what? So things like the clothing brands that you're interested in, your choices in technology, how you engage in media, your social media presence, and what you post online. So the example here is, for example, maybe you wear bench sweaters, have multiple pairs of Air Jordans, or an avid Android user. Share your thoughts via Snapchat stories, repost funny cat videos, share links about politics via Twitter, and comment about hashtag hate for when blah, blah, blah. People use too many hashtags in their posts. So you're going to think about sort of how you project yourself. So then you've got a couple questions that need to go with the assignment too. So when you're thinking about, before you actually get to your part 1, no, this is just after. So the list of values, I just linked that in there because it's a good quick place to go and find 400. Different personal values. So maybe I try to project optimism in my posting online on Facebook. How do I do that? Try to post like self-help type tips. Who knows? That could be an example that I give on my visual. Maybe I try to project myself as a respectful person. And how do I do this online? Maybe I would share an example of a positive message that I've put out there responding to somebody else. So you can think about how these could apply when you're thinking about this, right? And you can link sort of some of these things together with your values. So once you've done that, let's look. So when I look at the examples in my visual together, so now you're just doing sort of a written response so that I better understand what you're showing me in your visual. So when I look at all the examples in my visual together, what messages am I sharing with others? So you're going to respond in full sentences here. Explain these values. What are they? How do you know that you're projecting them? So you're going to respond to that. And then internal values. Does your outer image, what you show to others, match with your internal, like your core beliefs? Let me just see. I think that just links to the same one. I can't remember. Yeah. I've just linked it a couple different ways. Yeah. So does your outer image match your internal values about life? So that's just a reflective piece, right? If they match, explain the connections. If they don't match, why do you think that they are disjointed? What is the message I'm sharing outwards? Does it match my inner thoughts and feelings? And then you're going to have a quick reflection with this brand archetype. So you're going to go back and review the image. You can make it a little bigger here, but it might be easier to see it. Over in the content area. It's up to you. So you could either make it bigger here or make the image bigger here. And then you're going to answer the following questions. So which one do you most identify with and why? And then using your visual, do you think media messages connect to that, or why not? And then give some examples. So 2 parts to this assignment. One is coming up with some kind of visual that on that visual has sort of values that you're projecting, brands that you tend to use. Here's the good example. And then you're doing your reflection in full sentences on the visual that you create so I can better understand the information. So that is going to get turned into the assignment area. Let me just see if we can pull up the rubric here. I created that a while ago. So let's go in. We'll go to edit. And, oh yeah, so I put the gingerbread person here, the values, and the brand identity, and I will link this video up here too. So where is my rubric? Okay. So you've got a checklist here, and then you've got the rubric, the overall rubric. So knowledge and understanding, do you demonstrate a thorough understanding of how media impacts a student as a consumer? Demonstrates insightful ability to explain how personal values, background affects messages and meaning in media texts. Some of that will be explained through the written component of the task. Express and organize ideas in a visual representation with a high degree of effectiveness. Demonstrate thorough ability to apply and connect media analysis to your personal experiences. So more specifically down here, part 1, my visual, did I give the 6 to 8 examples? And I've given some examples here. When I look at all the examples in my visual together, what messages am I sharing with others? So these are the written questions. How did you answer those? And then which brand do you most identify with and why? And giving some examples. And I'll do the incomplete next step or successfully completed. So that's how you're going to be assessed for those 2 pieces.